All right, so Leon Draisaitl getting himself paid. You can see his career resume here. Third overall pick back in 2014. 850 points in 719 career games. Three-time 50-goal scorer. Coming off an impressive season in 2019-2020. The Hart Trophy winner, Art Ross Trophy winner, Ted Lindsay Award. And again, one win shy of winning the ultimate prize, the Stanley Cup. This locks him in and that team in for at least another couple of cracks at it. When you see the number come down, we knew it was going to be 8 years, $14 million per AAV. Right around what you kind of thought it might be for Draisaitl?
Yeah, not surprising, right? I mean, Leon Draisaitl is clearly one of the very best offensive centermen in the NHL. He's the best power play scorer in the NHL. Part of the Edmonton Oilers' great success the last several years is their power play, which has been historically good, being led by the best goal scorer with the man advantage in Leon Draisaitl. So he's done that. Cap is going up. And then people might say, well, why would he get more than Austin Matthews if you're of the belief that Austin Matthews deserves more? Well, when you go for 8 years, that percentage of the cap that you're chewing up in years 5, 6, 7, 8, which Austin Matthews is not signed for, is going to be much lower as the cap continues to increase. So it makes sense financially. You knew it was going to be this number. I would say this. It's a fair deal. Leon did not give any hometown discounts. He got just about as much as he was going to get, which should never be faulted because you should never blame the player for that. He did what he had to do. But he didn't get overpaid, but he didn't get underpaid. He did exactly probably what he should get.
All right, for more on this deal, we bring in our NHL Network insider right now, Elliot Friedman. Elliot, you were all over this thing right from the get-go. I'll ask you the same question. Were you surprised at where the number came in when pen was put to paper?
Not in the last week, Jameson. Earlier in the summer, I thought it might be a 13, something like that. But over the last week, while I was trying to enjoy Disneyland, someone said to me, don't be surprised if this one comes in around 14. And, you know, one of the things I think is, first of all, it's 16% of the cap or a little less when the year it kicks in. And that's normal for the top players. If you take a look at where a lot of the big deals come in, 15, 16% is pretty much where it is. So that fits. That's number one. And number two, you know, it's interesting, Jameson. There's a few things here. And, Mike, you lived in dressing rooms. You understand this stuff. It's a salary cap. So every dollar that someone makes, someone can't make. But there still is pressure on the best players to raise the bar from their peers. And secondly, I think that you should never underestimate that the great players want to be at the top of the salary structure, too. Now, Connor McDavid is in a situation where he could have taken more money last time, and he decided not to do it. And Leon Draisaitl was below him. I think people expected this to happen. And I don't think anybody is too surprised with the number. Again, it's about 15 to 16% of the cap, and that's where the top players come in, and that fits for someone like Draisaitl. I'd also say this, guys. I was listening to Draisaitl's answer about McDavid. I just find it really hard to believe that this wasn't a two-player negotiation. He doesn't want to speak for McDavid. And I will say this, the Oilers players are very careful about not talking about each other's business. They're very good at protecting things like this. But I find it hard to believe that Draisaitl didn't commit without a feeling that it wasn't going to be happening for McDavid, too.
Interesting. Well, it's getting to the point you have to sign that 8-year, $14 million AAV to be able to even attend Disney World. So I digress on that. Because, Elliot, hey, you heard Draisaitl talking in that press conference about, hey, I got to do what's best for me, but also I hope that those pieces get to stay in place and we can get another couple of cracks at this thing. So what is the next domino to fall, and how do you see things shaking out up in Edmonton regarding Evan Bouchard and then obviously the most important, Connor McDavid?
Well, you know, I do believe they plan to keep all, like, the number one thing, Jameson, is winning. Like, you know, I really do believe this. We can debate all the time about where players want to play, where they don't want to play. Even if you're a place where, you know, you might not think is at the top of the list, if you're a winning organization and players believe they can win, then players are going to stay there. And, of course, the Oilers went to Game 7 last year. The West is really tough. There's a lot of good teams there. But you bet on where you think you can win. And everything the Oilers are about is trying to win. A year ago, we sat down with Draisaitl, and that's what he said to us. This whole organization is about winning. And they came so close last year, and people don't want to walk away from that. like I said, I believe as long as that's the case, that they're in a great position to bring back Connor McDavid too. Those guys are so close. The Draisaitl bought a home not far from McDavid's off-season home, just so they could live and train together. They're so tight. I just find it really hard to believe that he would commit to this without a real good understanding that McDavid was going to do it too, as long as things stay equal. And they'll find a way to get Bouchard done as well. Now, they'll have to hope the cap goes. Like, the league and the players are both very optimistic about where the cap is going. They'll have to hope that continues. They'll have to squeeze in some places. But the Bowman clip there is the key. You cannot replace what he does, and this was always going to get done. Were the Oilers going to try to get it done at a lower number? Sure. But at the end of the day, they knew they had to get Draisaitl done.